What if I told you that as of October 2025, with the Federal Reserve cutting interest rates, while inflation remains at 2.6%, the money in your bank, your entire financial future is controlled by a system that was never built to serve you. It was built to control you, and the cracks are starting to show. The Federal Reserve wasn't created by accident. It was designed through a pattern, a cycle that repeats every time financial power centralizes, and that same pattern is happening again right now. Before I show you how this system was created, you need to understand the centralization cycle, the four-stage pattern that every financial crisis follows. Stage 1, chaos. A financial crisis destabilizes the system. Banks fail, credit freezes, panic spreads. Stage 2, public panic. People demand the government do something. The pressure becomes unbearable. Stage 3, secret meeting. Behind closed doors, a small group of elites draft the solution, one that gives them permanent control. Stage 4, centralized control. The new system is sold as stability and protection. But once power is centralized, it never gives it back. Let me show you how this cycle worked. In 1907, Stage 1, chaos. Before 1913, the United States had no central bank. Private banks issued their own currency. There was no lender of last resort. And in October 1907, the entire system collapsed in just 72 hours. The Knickerbocker Trust Company failed. Panic spread. Depositors lined up outside banks demanding their money. Credit froze completely. The stock market crashed 50% in 3 weeks. And here's the shocking part. J.P. Morgan, one man, a private banker, had to personally lock a group of bank presidents in his library and force them to create a $25 million rescue fund. One private citizen saved the entire US financial system. The chaos exposed one brutal truth. America's economy was too big, too interconnected, to run without someone controlling the flow of money. Stage 2, public panic. Congress passed the Aldrich-Vreeland Act in 1908 to create the National Monetary Commission, officially tasked with finding a permanent solution. But behind that bureaucratic front, powerful bankers and politicians were plotting something far deeper: how to centralize control of credit quietly and permanently without triggering public backlash. Stage 3, secret meeting. November 1910, a private train departs from New Jersey under the cover of darkness. The passengers use only first names. They pretend to be going duck hunting. The press was told nothing. Their real destination, Jekyll Island, Georgia, a private resort owned by the wealthiest men in America. Who was on that train? Senator Nelson Aldrich, Rockefeller's father-in-law and chairman of the National Monetary Commission. Henry Davison and Benjamin Strong, both from J.P. Morgan. Frank Vanderlip, president of America's largest bank. Paul Warburg, a German banker who had studied every European central bank. And Abraham Piet Andrew, assistant secretary of the Treasury. Together, these 6 men represented 1/4 of the world's wealth. For 9 days, they locked themselves in a secret meeting room. No servants were allowed inside. They wrote in code. They burned their drafts in the fireplace every night. What they created on that island became the blueprint for the Federal Reserve System. Their goal was simple: create a central institution that could control the money supply, act as lender of last resort, and, most importantly, serve the interests of the financial elite under the disguise of public stability. This wasn't reform, this was a takeover. When Senator Aldrich returned from Jekyll Island, he introduced the Aldrich Plan to Congress in 1912. The reaction was immediate and brutal. Critics tore it apart. They called it exactly what it was: a banker's scheme to centralize financial power in private hands. The plan proposed a National Reserve Association, a central body dominated by private banks, not the government. Then came the Peugeot Committee hearings, a congressional investigation that exposed the money trust. The findings were devastating. J.P. Morgan and his allies controlled 341 directorships in 112 corporations, with combined resources of $22.2 billion, the equivalent of trillions today. A handful of men in New York controlled the entire flow of American credit. Public outrage exploded. Newspapers ran headlines about the invisible government of Wall Street. Protests erupted. The Aldrich Plan was politically dead. But here's what most people don't understand. The backlash didn't kill the plan, it just forced a rebranding. The same Jekyll Island blueprint was repackaged with cosmetic changes, renamed the Federal Reserve Act with language designed to sound democratic and decentralized. Different name, same system, same people in control. Stage 4, centralized control. Enter Woodrow Wilson, a Princeton professor turned politician, backed by the same Wall Street interests that funded his campaign. In 1913, Wilson pushed what he called a compromise, a central bank that would appear public but operate privately. William Jennings Bryan, the populist hero who had spent his career fighting the money trust, was convinced to support it. How? By adding one cosmetic change, Federal Reserve notes would be obligations of the US government, not private banks. Bryan thought he had won a victory for the people. He was wrong. The Federal Reserve Act was passed on December 23, 1913, 2 days before Christmas, when most of Congress had already left Washington. The vote happened in the dead of night. Wilson signed it into law the same day. An institution that would control the entire US money supply was created in the shadows, with minimal debate and almost no public awareness. The Federal Reserve System was born, 12 regional banks, a board of governors appointed by the president, the Federal Open Market Committee, a small group of officials who would control interest rates, credit, and the flow of money through the entire economy. On paper, it looked decentralized. In reality, power was concentrated in New York, where J.P. Morgan's empire sat at the center of everything. The system that was supposed to prevent financial crises had just been handed to the same people who caused them. But here's what they didn't tell you in 1913. The centralization cycle doesn't stop, it repeats. The Federal Reserve didn't prevent the next crisis, it caused it. And when that crisis hit in 1929, the Fed didn't lose power, it gained even more. In part 2, I am going to show you how this pattern ran 5 more times. 1929, the 1970s, 2008, 2020, and right now in 2025. Each time, the same pattern. Each time, more power. Each time, the centralization cycle. This is Brinkwell, where we uncover the patterns that shape power, money, and control. Subscribe because part 2 will show you the evidence they tried to hide, and part 3 will reveal the end game. Stay curious, stay skeptical, and I'll see you in part 2.